Okay, so in order to get inside the cranking mechanism, the first thing you have to actually do is to take off the crank. So there is this screw that goes in through the side, and once you get that out, you just pull the crank out, and then all the little facing bits will just pull out from there. So that's the only piece that's holding in this entire thing. Well, actually, that's not true. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws, and that crank. Oh, that's also something that you're going to need to do, is you're going to need to take this part off in order to take the leather off from the side. So this goes here and holds the back door open, as well as cover up the edge of the leather, and is a point for whatever strap you may have if you have one of those. So you pull off the side face here. First thing you're going to want to rescue is this little button here that allows you to cock the shutter without advancing the film. I can't remember exactly the technical word for that right off the top of my head, but allows for multiple exposures basically. Or to retake one if you left your lens cap on or something, which is kind of hard to do on a twin lens, so I don't know why that would work. But rescue that, because that's just loose and that's floating around on this little pad right here. I'm inserting this later because I wanted to mention that, gosh, if I can grab them, there were two little tiny, these little copper washers that I guess were just used as spacers that were sitting on top of this screw hole underneath the face that were loose. So just be sure that you hold on to those. So what I'm gonna do is advance this just so you can see kind of how this mechanism is working. So this is you pulling the shutter around, okay? So what this pad is doing is that's the stop that once you go back, it'll get to that convenient little lock position where you can put the hold back there. And then when you want to wind it again, but without advancing the film, which is what this is doing right here, this is getting into your film, it actually pushes this pad down, and then this little bumper goes over top of it. And you can see, maybe you can see in the periph, this, oh, yeah, it's right there. That's the little, our little hammer friend that we were dealing with in that first part with the top that gets jammed up. So this in here, you're gonna see, is what's moving that whenever you re-crank or re-cock the shutter. Okay, so this is pretty straightforward, but what I was having trouble with was this, my frame counter. So I'm going to take this out because this just falls out when I pull it out anyway. Okay, so what is supposed to happen when you open the door, right, is that the frame counter resets. That was not happening on mine, nor was it advancing. And I'm not sure exactly what caused that problem, but I'm going to demonstrate how the mechanism works, so hopefully then you can figure out what's causing your particular problem. So there's this, the other end of this black lever here is pushed up against this door. So what that door is doing is it is activating, it's coming along here, and it's putting these teeth in contact with each other. This gold one via this little tiny one is connected to your take-up spool. So you can see as I fake advance the film, that's how this mechanism moves, and what you see will eventually be whatever number showing up right there when it gets there. So what stops that is, yeah, I guess I will take that out. But there's some little hooks in there that are attached to this thing, which I will show you will stop this crank mechanism via this apparatus. I have very limited vocabulary with what I'm talking about here. It's all mechanisms and apparatuses. So, oh, you see it just barely caught. And that little click that you may have heard is all that's stopping your crank. So it's chunk, and it pivots here to there, to the crank. So I can't push it anymore. I'm going to fake fire a shutter by pressing this little silver thing. And I'll put it back over here so you can see what actually happens. Okay, there we go. That was it. So then it releases that, which releases your crank. So you crank and advance your film, and at the same time you are advancing other way. You're advancing the counter, which you can see is starting to pick up there again. So here we'll do them both at the same time. Oop, it locked, and I'm locked. Great. So, what was broken for me, I'm thinking, was this spring plate, okay? So, when this should have been a clue for me too, that it's something that possibly could happen often, because this was uncovered. Yeah, there's this odd little copper cover that sits right there. I'm not sure what exactly that's for, but maybe it's because there's an easier way to reset this whole little spring thing than taking the whole cover off. But basically what's going on under here, carefully but firmly, because you will do what I tell you to. It's one way to talk to your camera. Here we go. Okay. Okay. So here is the little spring that is threaded through this little hole. And when tightened correctly, you know, should stay. Okay, hold on, I'm gonna open this up so you can see it release, and so I can rotate it as I need to. So I'm opening the back door right now. So this is all gonna move. This gear is gonna pull away, and it's also gonna pull this little stopper away. So when that happens, this spring right here had been wound up, you know, if everything had been put on correctly, it would put everything back to its original position. Okay. Go ahead and take this door off. Okay. So the original position would be about here. You can feel it. It stops there. So when I put everything back, you want to make sure that it's there, and that this is where your spring is when you're rethreading and sealing everything. I'm going to take this little bugger out. You have to take these both out at the same time.